We are also restoring the $64,000 cut there as well. If you flip over to 11.5.7, the next one down at the bottom, we're going to do an add here. We're providing funds for 2 auditors, 1 administrative financial assistant, and 1 training position there, $380,809. We just want to make sure that they have exactly what they need to make sure that everyone is following the rules and doing what they need to be doing. Department of Banking and Finance, be on page 9, 14.3.6. Man, it's quiet in here. This is dealing with the transfer of the industrial loan program. We did not have any legislation at the time, and so we're moving it back to the Department of Insurance until we see that the legislation does pass. Driver Services, page 11. The first change we have is at 21.1.6, Department of Administration. We are reducing funds here by eliminating some vacant positions, but we're going to maintain $131,579 here and reduce funds to reflect the governor's intent to eliminate 1 vacant warehouse manager position and the savings from the consolidation of a budget and grant position. Going down to 21.2.5, license issuance. We're going to maintain or put some money in here. This is an ad for $207,000 for their vault security system. They've had some problems with folks trying to steal the money that they obtain from taxpayers, and we want to make sure that it is protected and that it gets to where it needs to go. So we've added some funds there to allow them to have security services there. 21.2.6, the next one down, you'll see that we are adding $700,000 back in there. This is for 19 driver examiners and to reduce funds to reflect the governor's intent to eliminate 12 full-time and 50 part-time vacant driver examiner positions. We just want to make sure that they have the people they need to make sure that our roads are safe and that they make sure the right people get the driver's license and they operate safely. Flipping over to 21.3.6, we are reducing funds by eliminating vacant positions. You'll see that we are restoring $111,000 there to the regulatory compliance to make sure that they're able to utilize their workforce where they need them the most. Flipping over to there's no changes in the Office of the Governor. Flipping over to page 16. Office of the Commissioner of Insurance at 29.4.4 and 29.4.5. Again, this is dealing with the transfer of the industrial loan program. You'll see that it's remaining there until the actual legislation passes, and then we will make changes as needed there. DNR. No real major changes in Department of Labor as you flip through there. DNR's on page 19. We're starting at 34.3.7. You'll see the first ad here under EPD. We're increasing funds for 2 environmental engineers and some third-party testing in the amount of $500,000. And that's just going to be to allow them to have some extra resources to look after all of the environmental things that we have going on across our state. As our state continues to grow and do more and more and become more active, we just need to make sure they have what they need. 34.7.4 under law enforcement. We're restoring half the cut here to ensure that DNR's law enforcement personnel have what they need to make sure that Georgians are safe. 34.8.5 and 34.8.6. Again, we're just restoring half the cuts here. State parks are a revenue generator for our state. They're also a place that we spend time with our families, and it's a huge part of quality of life, and we want to make sure that DNR is able to keep them in great condition so that our people continue to go there. 34.8.7, you'll see that we're maintaining the $25,000 here to continue raising the sunken vessels at Lake Lanier. 34.8.15, Parks and Rec. We are 34.8. Yep, here it is. Okay, this is for the visitor centers that DNR inherited from the Department of Economic Development. We are just making sure that they have the adequate funds they need to make sure that those are in good condition, and that when people come into our state, they are shocked at what we're doing there. And so we want to make sure that they have the funds there. So you'll see an additional add of $100,000 there to make sure they do what they need to do there. If anybody got any questions, just holler. But going on to Department of Revenue, there's nothing in state properties. Page 23 at 42.5.1. You'll see that there's just some funds picked up here due to the local tax officials' retirement. This is just based off of their expenditures. So we're able to pick that up at 42.8.6 under tax compliance. We're putting back $316,056 here into tax compliance so that the Department of Revenue doesn't have to eliminate 5 revenue agents and 2 auditors. These positions have a great return on their investment, both bringing in about $2.4 million each annually. And so we're definitely in times where we don't need to be leaving any money on the table, so we want them to be able to do that. Also at 42.8.9 in tax compliance as well. We're going to maintain 1.3 million and some change there for our FAST resource contractors. The governor's recommendation would have cut the number of FAST resources down to 2. But since these contractors ensure the state's integrated tax system, they're able to calculate what we are actually able to collect and needs to be collected. So we want to make sure that they have what they need to do. And I think also the FAST folks also provide some people to the state free of charge to help with that. And we want to make sure that that continues as well. And we don't want to lose those guys and girls. And that's all we have in revenue. Flipping over to Secretary of State, page 26. Georgia Access to Medical Cannabis Commission at 43.8.1. You'll see here that we're providing $184,000 for director, the board's per diem, and for operations. This is based off of the HB 324 that we passed last session, and the fiscal note that it has, just trying to utilize the numbers that they have just so they can get rolling on that as well. And those are majority of the changes. Again, I just want to say thank you to the committee members for all their hard work here. And I did want to, I think, point out that we had one additional merit raise under driver services. And that was in the license issuance division of a 4%. And I think as everyone else comes up, or 2%, I'm sorry, as everyone else comes up, you'll see that in some of the areas where we had high turnover rates and agencies were really struggling, and you'll see those changes or additions there. Any questions? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, you got a budget. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Man.
We're going to try to continue and keep the appropriation subcommittees on schedule. So we'll call the Higher Education Subcommittee of Appropriations to order. And before you have your budget, we'll quickly go through this. As we did, if you'll notice, and I'm going to go over this as far as section 41.1 and section 41.3. If you'll remember back in the amended budget, that we, with the ag experiment and the cooperative extension, what we did, these were a lot of these are jointly funded. So we've gone back and we've made sure that these cuts were going back to what was originally submitted by the college, and we've also done it in a way, as you see here, in which gives the system flexibility that they need. So in the end, the agriculture extension, ag experiment and cooperative extension, they were cut by about 9.8% in the original budget plan. We've reduced it to 4.4%, 3.4% and 4.4%, and have aligned these cuts to the plans again that each of these colleges were had submitted as they had vetted these cuts earlier. If you'll look at 41.2.1, this goes back to the Department of Ag. You'll see later on in budget that this was actually going to be a pass-through. We said no, there was not a legislation that authorized this transfer. If actually USG has no decision making in the rate decision making process, that stays with the agricultural commissioner. Next, Board of Regents. We've 41.4.5. We've reduced funds. There were some reduction in funds for operating expenses. We've added back a few of those cuts that reflects truly the plan for the Economic Development Lab. So we've reduced that cut. 41.4.7. This has to do with a program that it was Invest Georgia. Quite frankly, we asked for some data and history on this program as far as the amount of money that was being invested, the return on that investment, and to give us some data of where it was and some of the things it had done. They were unable to give us data in that program. So we have cut that program approximately by almost $5 million. They still have $5 million in the budget, but until we get more numbers, that is suspect. And then we had you'll see on 41.4.12, this is simply a transfer. UGA program, it invoices the Enterprise Innovation Institute, and we've simply transferred this to the other part of the budget to better reflect where it comes from. Forestry Cooperative, again, cuts that were made. 41.5.3, we've added back in the travel funds and made sure that forestry extension was kept whole. Very important right now with all that's going on after the hurricane has come in. That we make sure that they're out there doing what they can to help with forestry in Georgia. 41.6.4. Again, we have reduced funds. There was a reduction in funds for vacant positions. House wants to maintain those funds for one research technician and one forestry commission. So we've added that money back in, those cuts. Again, you're going to see this in several sections where there are positions, there's travel funds, and operating funds, and the House has simply added these back. And again, that's in forestry. Georgia Archives. We have reduced the cuts or zeroed the cuts for Georgia Archives, adding back technicians and preservation technicians in one part-time position, along with operating expenses and maintenance dollars that are much needed there. Georgia Cyber Innovation and Training Center. We have added back some cuts at 4184. Also very important, dealing with the Department of Defense assessments and certifications. We've added $150,000 in to this budget to begin cybersecurity maturity model certification program. And again, this is in concert with the U.S. Department of Defense and Cyber Innovation. This to provide the training to go to the training center at Augusta. Again, working concert with the Department of Defense. Georgia Research Alliance. This is where you'll see that transfer that I mentioned earlier, $133,000. Keep going. Marine Resource Extension Center. As we said throughout the budget, there's still places where we've added back positions, travel funds, personnel services, and operating expenses. This is again an area in which we added these back, and that would be 41, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7. Very important, 41.13.2, again, as we did in the amended budget. These are the medical residency slots. The recommended budget from the governor had cut about 30 of about 92, I believe, slots. We have added these back. Very important as we continue our policies to try to increase physicians in Georgia and make sure that we're graduating new our physicians and putting them in Georgia. So we're adding that money back. Public libraries. We've added money back to this. We're maintaining the funds for the Pine system. Very important there, which allow them to maintain the credit card revenue. They've also seen some savings there from a switch from, I think it was, to Google internet system from Windows, so there are some savings that we've captured there. And again, the House has held firm with the 35 cents per capita funding, very important to our Georgia library systems, as we were just able in the prior big budget to get them back up to the 35 cents per capita level. They had not seen that since the recession. Next one would be 41.15.8. We're putting back the funds for the Georgia Youth Science and Technology Center. Again, great work they're doing, serving our K through 12, a lot of education days in the classroom with that program. House has also restored the cuts to the Center for Rural Prosperity and Innovation. You'll see on 41.15.14, you'll hear in other budgets, what we have done here is we're seeing a line item come in as far as the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust from from the Department of Community Affairs. You'll also see later on, we'll break that out, and it's going to be a pass-through item. $41,609. The House is saying no to the transfer for the university system, statewide administrative services from the teaching program to the Regent Central Office. The House says no. We do not see any savings or efficiencies in this move. If you look at 41,1811, that's the other side of the House keeping the money for system, office for statewide administrative services. That's where we've said no. And other substantive changes. 41.21.1, you'll see that's where we have again, the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust. That is now a pass-through item. We've given it its own line item in the budget. 41.22.6. This is with Georgia Military College. I think they had placed some one-time funds for equipment and emergency notification in the wrong section here. You'll see where we're putting it back in the next section. We've also in there increased and funded Georgia Military College, the state's contribution for the employer share of their teachers' retirement system. $41.23.4. That's the item I just referred to. We just put it back to the proper place in the budget. Next, student finance. I don't think we had anything significant there. The dual enrollment with the passage there, we've trued up the number for dual enrollment now that we've passed HB 444. $44.91. There were true ups there as far as the projected awards and the Hope Scholarship. That was just a true up of numbers. 44.14 in the Reach Georgia Scholarship. I want to thank Representative Dickey. I know he and I both are very big fans of that program. That adds another. We were able to find another $2 million to that program. That is a great scholarship program, and a lot of our communities are very, very vested in that program and have a lot of skin in the game, not only financially but also with mentoring those students that compete for that scholarship. That should be it for student finance. Technical college system. Again, 46.2.12. The House has said no, and this is, again, similar to what we did in the Regents. This is transfer of the system-wide administrative services from the technical education program to the departmental administration. Again, we did not see the savings or efficiencies in that transfer. And I think we're getting close to the 46.58. That was the other side of the House disagreeing with that transfer of the administrative services. And then 46.69, we have added in $150,000 to provide funds for a rural technical worker pilot program under the technical college, and we're hoping that will expand the opportunities with the tech industry in rural areas of Georgia. with that, throughout the budget, I think, and we'll hear later, we've looked at some of the pay raises that, with the $40,000, and I think we're shifting, and I think as Chairman England will probably explain a lot later, we're going to allow flexibility with these pay raises, and and that's going to be a change that you'll see throughout the budget. But with that, are there any questions from the members? Appropriate time? Second. Any other further discussions? All those in favor say aye. All those like sign, and it passes. Thank you. Just anywhere?
Yeah.
How are you doing, Calvin? I'm all right, buddy. How you doing? Pretty good.
Yeah, they caught me. So you need to put arrows down.
Is this where I'm supposed to? Am I in the right seat?
You are. You're in
Ah,
charge.
I'm where I'm supposed to be.
You're in charge.
Yeah, right. Good morning. I was looking for you. I was going to panic if you weren't here. Good morning. If I could have your attention. Good morning. We'll go ahead and get started with the Transportation Subcommittee on Appropriations, and I want to thank Chairman England and the members of the committee and our House Appropriations staff. This was a great team effort, and thank you very much. The Transportation Committee on Appropriation recognizes that we are the guardians for maintaining the integrity of the revenue generated by restructuring of motor fuel tax and the addition of fees that were committed to for financing the roads and bridges for the network throughout our state. We have put $16.4 million in transportation-related fee collections back into the transportation projects. In this budget, you will see $15.9 million of those fees proposed to be used for motor fuel carrier compliance division at the Department of Public Safety. They are moved to the capital construction projects. Another $500,000 was directed to intermodal for the operation of the Sapelo Island Ferry. And because we know this is not the use of fees in line with HB 170's definition of transportation purposes, we put those funds back into capital maintenance programs and return the operation of Sapelo Island Ferry back to the Department of Revenue, where it is supported by state park funds. In the payment of CERTA, the program where we've been able to utilize $10 million that were no longer needed for the operations of the Northwest Corridor, the I-75 South new managed lanes, and the I-85 extension to fund payment adjustments for the department. Since 2015 and the passage of HB 170, the department is delivering additional $1 billion worth of annually, and they are delivering these projects with the lowest headcount that they've ever operated under. These employees are administering construction projects and maintenance efforts on the state's 17,959 miles of roads, and they're assisting with the locally owned bridges and roads throughout the state. The bond package includes $50 million in bridge bonds, too. These bonds will finance the replacement and rehabilitation of our state systems of bridges, freeing up motor fuel funds to help local governments repair and replace bridges on the local systems. Locally owned bridges are accessed by every citizen, our children on school buses, our farmers, and manufacturer goods that are distributed through this system. We no longer charge the governor's recommendation to increase, we have no change, I'm sorry, to the governor's recommendation to increase funds for the express operations. This $3.4 million investment will help the express programs continue to deliver reliable transit operations for its ridership of over 44 counties. This service provides connection between 3.4 million residents and 375,000 jobs, and it moves 55 million miles of congestion from the metro region in the interstate annually. We'll start with looking at 47.1.2. This is the transportation fees taken for use for motor carrier compliance of the Department of Public Safety. And this will be where it belongs. And per legislative council, we need to spend these funds appropriately. We can move on to 47.2.1. That was a reduction to show the $1.9 million to balance motor fuel across the state is being used to actually show and identify the pay adjustments that were made. If you'll look at 47.2.2, this money was allocated to the intermodal program for the operation of the Sapelo Island Ferry. Because this use is not in line with the definition of transportation purposes in HB 170, which we passed in 2015, per legislative council, we'll be moving those back to the other department. If you look at 47.3.2, again, this is the absorption that the department had been doing in our 2020 budget, and this will annualize it, showing these pay-based increases. You'll note these on several places, 47.42, and throughout the budget, we tried to analyze it by each department that they belong to. Moving on, let's see. 47.12.3. This is the state rolls and toll authority no longer needs this money to operate and manage these managed lanes. This money was being allocated and utilized to show those 2% pay raises for the DOT absorbed last year. It will now be shown. This budget continues investing in infrastructure and mobility for our citizens. And most importantly, this budget reflects proper use of the transportation revenue generated since the passage of HB 170. And it confirms our commitment to assuring that those dollars are invested in infrastructure as intended when the General Assembly passed this legislation. Do we have any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I want to go ahead and call our Health Subcommittee of Appropriations to order, and we'll begin with our budget presentation. As we do want to make a couple of comments before we start. The House approach to the fiscal year 2021 budget for Medicaid, Peach Care, public health, and the healthcare workforce was twofold. First, to restore and maintain the progress we've made over the past several years in committing significant resources to help ensure adequate health care services are available to citizens in all of our 159 counties. Secondly, to strategically commit funds where we believe they can have a significant short-term as well as a long-term impact on the well-being of our children, the elderly, and those in need of health care in this state. And having said that, I'm going to go ahead and begin running through the changes. There are quite a few of them, so I'm going to move quickly. If you will look first on 17.4.3, we're saying no to that cut and restoring this money for the Rural Health Systems Innovation Center. 17.4.4, we're catching the $500,000 that was put in there for the federal FQHC startups last year, and that's tied to 17.4.5, where we're recommending 2 new startups. One would be a primary care in Wayne County, and one would be a school-based center in Irwin County. And 17.4.6, this eliminates one-time funds for a grant program that was started last year, that those funds have not been spent, so we're able to have a savings there. 4.7, this provides funding for the charity clinics, and 4.8 is increased funding for the rural hospital stabilization grants. Under 17.5.4, this will increase funding to be able to provide 4 surveyor positions. These are the folks who will actually go out on site and do inspections in assisted living homes, personal care homes, and so forth, and we think that will help. 17.7.8, this is an increase to expand the quality initiative programs for nursing homes who do quality care. 17.7.9, this is a 3% increase in Medicaid ventilator reimbursement rates. Under low-income Medicaid, 17.8.1, there's a slight reduction there. This is in the growth funds, just a later number there to true that up. 17.8.9, this is increasing funds to provide for 6 months of postpartum Medicaid coverage for mothers. This would become effective July 1 of 2020. And also tied into that, 17.8.10, this would increase funds to provide lactation care and services in a bill that was passed earlier. 17.8.11, this would provide reimbursement rates to select primary care codes, some 100, over 100 codes for our primary care doctors, and this will help the doctors as well as the hospitals. 17.8.12, this is to provide funds reimbursement for silver diamine fluoride. This is for the children to help reduce the decay in cavities. Under Peach Care, 17.9.3, this is just saying to use the funds that we provided in 17.8.12 for that service for the children. 17.10.1 is a reduction in existing technology contracts, statewide programs to state health benefit plans. This is language only. 17.12.1, this is a truing up of the increased funds for the 133 residency slots. Actually, that number is 185, so we're truing that up to take care of that. 17.12.2, a slight adjustment there in a true up of the FMAP number. 17.12.3, this is to, we're saying no to those cuts for the accelerated track program at Memorial in Savannah. 17.12.7, reduce funds to fellowships at Augusta University. We're saying no to those. 17, 12.9, 12.10, 12.11. We're also saying no to those cuts in the fellowship programs there in Augusta. 17.12.12, this is to provide funds to match federal fund startup for a rural psychiatric residency program at Colquitt Regional Medical Center, and we're in partnerships with the locals down there to start up that residency program. 17.13.2, this we're saying no to the reduction in the funds of the Mercer School of Medicine operating grant. Same thing with 17.14.1 at Morehouse, saying no to those cuts there. The 17.15.1, we're saying no to the reduction in the loan repayment program for rural advanced practice nurses, dentist assistants, and physician programs on their loan repayment. Under 17.16.2, reduce funds for student capitation payments to our medical schools, Emory, Mercer, Morehouse, and PCOM. We're saying no in that. That would have been a 7% cut to that program. Georgia Medical Composite Board, 17.17.3. We're adding funds to for one medical director. This money was put into the budget last year, but was disregarded by the governor's language in that. We think that's important to help them. Same thing under 17.18.5. This is to put the money back in for a data management system for Georgia Drugs and Narcotics, help them be more efficient in their business. Under public health, 38.1.6, we have reduced the cut to the Sickle Cell Foundation by $150,000. We were able to restore part of that. 38.1.7, this deals with CORE, the Georgia Center for Oncology Research. We have reduced the recommended cut by 1/2 in that number. $38.3.7, this would be a slight adjustment there in that reduction of funds for 14 vacant positions, and we enumerate those positions there and true up that number. 38.3.9, this is really a budget bookkeeping area adjustment, and you'll see this, it ties to 38.12.3 relating to Fulton County Board of Health. 38.4.5, this is under emergent preparedness. We're saying no to that cut because we feel like that we don't need to reduce any of the funds to the emergency preparedness right now with the coronavirus that we have in this country. 38.5.4, we're saying no to the reduction in the hepatitis C testing kits. 38.5.5, we're saying no to the reduced funds for the Georgia Poison Center. And then 38.8.6, this is a small add that relates to a recommendation from the Georgia Newborn Screening Advisory Committee where they would test newborns for one more newborn disease. 38.9.7, this is the increased funding for the first year of a 3-year pilot program that deals with individuals with high risk of HIV. 38.10.3, we're saying no to the reduction for these 3 vacant positions because these positions are filled. We feel like they ought to be funded. 38.12.3, this was a 7% recommended reduction to the county boards of health across the state. We are saying no to that and reduce that cut from 7% to 3%. And then 38.12.4, this deals with Fulton County that I mentioned to you, ties back to 38.3.8, which is just really a budgetary bookkeeping entry. under the Georgia Trauma Commission, 38.15.12. We're saying, it says reduce funds to contractual services. We're saying no, use the 1.6 million in existing funds to support Grady Memorial's hospital efforts to do the continued program of coordinating the emergency room entrance for the 13 county metro Atlanta area. And that's the cuts on the tracking sheets. And just want to say that, you know, we've made a number of changes to the governor's recommendation in his budget. Many changes have been to restore cuts to programs the House and the Senate have worked hard over the past several years to build up, with a goal of that all Georgians have access to quality health care. Access to make sure that not only their families thrive, but their communities thrive as well. We've also added a few items to help address critical needs, such as maternal mortality, assistance to our rural hospitals, supporting our medical education programs, to adding more critically needed doctors to our communities. We look forward to working with the Senate and the governor to pass a budget that promotes access to quality and affordable health care for all of our citizens. We have the budget. Any questions from the committee? Could we have a motion? Have a motion do pass and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Then it passes unanimously. Thank you very much.